Welcome to Angry Britain. It's everywhere. Rage is invading our lives. We see it and hear it on the box every day.
You murdering bastard! You murderer!
Anger in public is now widespread, acceptable, even fashionable.
Well, you must have been blind, mate.
Everywhere we're told that keeping it bottled up inside us is wrong. Anger would seem to be all the rage now.
Just like yesterday.
I'm fine. That's it! I can't take it anymore! I can't take it! I've had enough!
In tonight's programme, we're going to discover why we've all had enough. Why a country always known for its self-restraint, mild manner and moderation is now angry and proud of it. The message of our age. If you can't immediately get what you want, then shout and scream.
Skateboard.
Now look what you've done. Your mother could have
She
broken her
wants
leg.
a
Now go to your
brand.
room. Are you all right, darling?
Brand. Innovations you need.
I wish you were dead. I'd get some peace.
Today, rage on the roads is no longer funny. It's breaking out all the time, at the slightest provocation, as these two separate stories reveal.
Well, I was on my way to work and I have to cross this road, and when the light went green, which it has done now, I crossed over. And just as I got to about halfway here, a motorbike came screaming round that corner, went straight nearly over my feet there, and pulled up over there. So I thought nothing more of it. I shouted, "You wanker," like that. It was on green. Carried on walking towards here, thinking nothing of it. In the meantime, he parked up over there, put his crash helmet over his fist, and came over here and smacked me straight across.
So I've put this bloke up, and of course he wants to come back in, which you know, I mean, I would have done exactly the same. And as you come in, he bumped my car, and that was it. Then I just lost it. I mean, I had the wife and the two kids in the back of the car, and I just pulled over. I like rammed into his car. I pulled over, and I wound out. Well, I said to him, "Wind down the window," but he wouldn't. So I just got my fist, and I just banged straight through the window, shattered, and he had his seatbelt on, obviously. And I was trying to drag him back out the broken window, trying to drag him, you know, by his hair, anything I could get hold of.
He then started to kick me. All right? I put my hand over my head to protect my head, and he just kept on kicking my arms, trying to get to my head, which he did. And then he rained in a tirade of blows on my ears, my neck, my nose, all on one side, because he could, you know, I'd rolled over on the other. I really thought I was going to die, and he was screaming at me, "Who's the wanker now?"
I went round the back of his car and I was kicking his lights in, I was denting his doors and everything, sort of thing, like, so, you know. I think that was the worst one. That was the worst one that frightened me and the kids, sort of thing, like, because obviously the kids were, you know, in the back of the car screaming and shouting, "Dad, Dad, Dad, don't do it, don't do this," and all this, like, so, you know.
And someone from the crowd that had gathered over here shouted, "Don't you think he's had enough?" And he just turned around to him and said, "I'll tell you when I think he's had enough."
Dave has now fully recovered from his beating, but his assailant was never caught. Gary got off scot-free and can't quite understand what came over him.
You know, and the wife gets pissed off with you and then the kids are unhappy and, you know, and you think, "I've got to fucking stop this, I can't do this again." And you don't until, like, the next time.
I'm the fear addicted, danger illustrated.
And aggro is all around us, according to Professor Ellis Cashmore.
There's something learnt about this. There's a script, an unwritten script. So, for example, if I'm in a pub and someone knocks the drink out of my hand, I'm not going to turn around to the person and say, "You know, I've good minds to give you a jolly good punch on the nose."
more likely I'm going to turn around and say, "You're dead."
On the bits you hated, filth infatuated.
3 out of 4 of us admit to being a victim of road rage. Although, surprise, surprise, only 1 in 20 of us own up to doing it. Road rage, however, is just the tip of the iceberg. Setting out to work is simply the start of a whole day of aggravation in today's Britain. Here are 2 successful 30-somethings. Dave Jones, a journalist from Birmingham, and Karen Wood, an internet manager from London. With interesting, well-paid jobs, they should have every reason to look forward to the working day. But both see it as a battleground.
Hi Alison, Dave here. I'm going to be a bit late.
Birmingham Inner Ring Road is jammed. Not a pretty sight. No wonder he gets cross. Except that it's like this every day. And every day Dave gets cross.
There've been numerous occasions when I'll suddenly scream, "Go bloody way," or whatever. And it's only because perhaps, I don't know, somebody's pulled out in front of me or something like that.
Fortunately for other people, Karen doesn't drive to work, but commuting causes her just as much grief.
It's just everyone's so close to you. It's the whole thing about everyone being so tight. You're tighter on the tube than you are with some people you actually know and like. And I don't want to be that close to people I don't know. And that's what it is. It's invasion of body space. And because I'm short, I get it all the time. Tall people, smelly people, mad people.
And we're all mad now. Professor Ellis Cashmore is a keen observer of social behaviour, and he's shocked by what he sees.
We moved from being a collective unit in which we rewarded things like perseverance, hard work, and importantly, patience. And now we're much more of an individualistic entity where we're seeking our own immediate rewards. And part of this breakdown has led us into a confused situation where we don't quite know how to deal with strangers.
And these strangers, who the hell do they think they are?
I'm driving along thinking, you know, I'm a competent driver. I'm observing the highway code. I know the speed limit and I'm conscious of the road conditions and so on. And then if a driver makes a manoeuvre which is not competent, I find that hugely annoying. Why can't you drive well, you idiot?
Exactly what Karen often feels.
This happened yesterday. I was actually at Bond Street. And this guy, I was going down some very tight escalators, huge crowd, and my foot was really hurting. And this guy just stopped right at my foot. And I turned around to him, I must admit I had this line prepared because I've been waiting for this, because this happens all the time. He trod right at my foot, and I turned around to him, I said, "Oi, suit boy, you trod on my foot." And he went, "Woo." I said, "Well, obviously, you lost your manners as well when you put that bloody suit on." I was just so annoyed, and it really hurt as well. And he'd obviously known he'd done it, and just people are so rude.
This constant complaint that other people are rude masks a much deeper problem. We now live in a world where we are constantly confronted by people we neither know nor have any conceivable connection with.
40 years ago, if I was going about my business here and got bumped out of the way, then I might just go and think that person has failed to observe some unwritten convention. Nowadays, I'm much more likely to let rip.
Okay, the pressures are horrendous. The roads are busier, car journeys are longer, public transport is more packed than ever. Travelling to work is a nightmare. But that alone can't explain why so much of our frustration comes out in anger. It's not just the circumstances that have changed so much, it's how we are reacting to them. What's happening is that we're seeing everyone we come across as hostile aliens threatening our space and putting obstacles in our path.
A critical psychological process in road rage is that the other person is not the object of your sympathy or empathy in any way. In a sense, you've become a bit like a serial killer, a psychopath, in which you don't experience this other person as somebody who is due any respect or concern. Instead, this is just a thing, if you like, and it's an objectified entity, somebody who can basically be a dustbin for all your crap. You want to get rid of these bad feelings and you want to get them into someone else, and you don't give a damn about this other person's well-being at all.
And after all this, there's work.
For some practical advice on ways to avoid stress. Over to you, Kenneth.
And first slide. Lights, 300 slides, and they're all wrong.
Well, what we could do... Ken, I think you've made your point.
Gordon Brittus, the pompous yet incompetent leisure manager. We'd lose it with him, wouldn't we? But we're increasingly angry with everyone and everything at work, as computers have discovered to their cost.
Thank you for calling. There's no one to answer your call now. Please leave your message after the beep.
4 out of 10 people admit computer rage, and 4 out of 5 have seen other people lose it with their computer. People like Dave Lawrence.
Switched it on again, and it destroyed one of my very expensive monitors. Now at this point, myself and my colleague were in the room, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and he said, "That machine is going to die in an interesting fashion very shortly, isn't it?" So I picked it up and threw it.
And there we are. One dead PC.
I think a lot of people in the workplace blame their anger and their emotions on new technology, and they think that it's the things like the voicemail and the fax and the computers going wrong that's actually causing their anger. I think it's more than that. I think it's to do with this sort of emotional expectations that exist now in the workplace that didn't exist before.
We do indeed expect a lot from our work. After all, we put in the longest hours in Europe. Yet only 1 in 4 of us are happy in our jobs. It can often feel like a war zone, with more and more of us feeling we've got no control over our fate.
My boss asked me to, or us as a team, to work the weekend again, and we'd already worked every night late for about 3 months. We'd worked lots of weekends, and we were knackered. We were just so tired, and we knew also that it was a bit of a fruitless project, but you know, you can never say that to management, you just have to do it. And he made it very clear that we were working the weekend and he wasn't, and at that point I completely flipped. And I just banged my head on the desk in front of him and said, "I'm not fucking doing that again." And I walked out like that, did a Miss Piggy, and just flipped my hair back. I went, and that's it, isn't it? And just walked out. He never referred to it again. He never spoke of it again.
Okay, no, but I want it there. That's the point. I need it there. All of us. I want to run through.
Karen's lucky her boss isn't called Elliot Heilpern.
You know, it's not a charity. We're in to do a job, and the sentiment in business generally has gone out. So the result is you just have to tell them. And if it means you have to be nasty, you have to be nasty.
Nasty or not, for all the hot air about job satisfaction and career development, it seems that work is more unsettling than ever.
There's been a complete change in the world of work, and I think people have become angrier and more anxious. For example, there aren't any long-term jobs nowadays, and I think that people look back on other times when things were a lot more transparent. For example, people get a job for life, they progress through the hierarchy, they do the time, they'd be deferential and courteous to the job, and they get promotion. All that's gone now. And I think people feel that they've lost control over their lives in some respects. And one of the ways in which they're reacting is to become angry, not at anybody in particular, but in this rather unfocused, rage-like way.
But if I'm actually
Still, we always need teachers.
think
hardly ever.
Teaching may be a job for life, if you can cope with the kids. But the pressures in recent years have led to record numbers retiring early or simply going AWOL.
And you can feel it, it's bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And what happens is it reaches a point where tempers are lost. 2 children come to me who had really hurt each other. You know, it actually very, very rarely gets...
David Ford always dreamed of becoming a headmaster, to finally reach a position where he could make a difference. Yet now that he's there, he's torn in every direction. He's angry, and he's got to suppress it.
I think what normally happens is it gets to a point, it's boiling, it's about to burst. It's always crisis management. You're always looking at what you need to do now to improve the number one priority. Very, very frustrating. It does make me angry, yes. Come in.
Right. The electrical engineers have just gone.
Then you kicked me on my knee.
I hope it was an accident. Pressure and stress is coming from a great range of sources. The parents, the teachers, support staff, the local authority, contractors. Okay, yeah. Hi.
Sorry, David, can you come to the dining room because you're needed in the hall on duty?
Again. And because it's a public service environment, you've got to be ready to drop everything for anybody at any time. Do you think that happens a lot?
Yeah.
But that's not all. Like many people working in the public sector, David's also got to deal with other people's anger as well as his own.
We can be used as, if you like, a dumping ground. There have been occasions for me when I have parents coming in to visit me, and they will initially come in using an aspect of their child's education as a vehicle for getting a level of frustration and concern off their chests. But as the interview progresses, I become more and more aware that there's much more to this than the child. And very often I'm aware of the fact that they're using us as a vehicle, another vehicle, for a way in which they can actually get rid of their own frustrations and angers. You talk about...
Coping with angry parents is typical of what we all have to face at work today. We all expect and demand greater job satisfaction ourselves, and yet at the same time, everyone we come into contact with is fighting for their rights. Frustration and dissatisfaction is inevitable.
People have these huge aspirations and expectations about work generated from what their career can give them, generated by television, magazine articles they read, and so on and so on. And they have this feeling that things should be much better than they really are all the time. They should be being paid more, that they should have more freedom, they should have more authority, and so on and so on. Now, the net effect of not being able to achieve these goals, which of course, if you look at the surveys, for example, young women are fantastically dissatisfied, even though they've never had such good opportunities, but they're fantastically dissatisfied with their work because they've got this incredibly high expectation.
Time for a relaxing trip to the shops. When Joanna Lumley appeared in this 1970s sitcom, everything on the surface was politeness itself.
That told her.
Excuse me, where's your changing room?
May I inquire what purpose you want to know for?
I want to change.
No, I'm sorry. Our rooms are not staff.
Thank you for your help.
It was a pleasure.
It's a bit different when Karen goes about.
She gets me rather scared because I feel like next she'll start losing her temper with us as well, so that's what I don't like being around when that happens. And when she just doesn't shout, I feel like embarrassed because the other people are answering her back, and I think that's rather rude.
The problem these days is, I think people do complain, but I don't think people complain enough. When I do something, even if it's not that often, I do it properly. And I just expect everyone else should be like that.
Look at this. This is spit. It's not my fault. It must be your fault. It's not. It's not my fault either. Well, it's not my fault. You can get out of here.
One particular shop where the staff are supposed to be very highly and professionally trained. Off I go with my 3 children to buy my husband a suit, a £300 suit. And there is absolutely no one at all around the shop floor to help you.
Hello.
I haven't got the time and the money to start sort of like wasting if things aren't right. I just expect things to be made that are up to a good standard. I just expect to buy things and they should be like perfect.
We've become a society of angry consumers. It's as if everywhere people are stamping out the message, me first. And when they don't get what they want, when they want it, which is instantly usually, they react very angrily to it. It's as if they're saying, I deserve the best, I'm worth it.
That's true in sport too. If shopping isn't as relaxing as it used to be, sport is anything but.
People are copying their sports heroes on television. Psychologists call that modelling, and we know that modelling is a very powerful influence, particularly with aggression and violence. That if you see someone else, particularly someone that you respect or you look up to, behaving in an aggressive way, you come to believe that aggression is a way of getting your goals.
When Dave was learning tennis, his hero was John McEnroe. Shame about that serve. And like his hero, it gets to him as well.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk and performance, man.
There was one instance in particular. We were losing the game. I hit 2 or 3 returns of serve, one after the other, right into the bottom of the net, hopeless. In annoyance, I just sort of whacked it on the ground, and the thing went bang. It was like a, sort of a crack, a loud crack, and that was the result. 1 broken racket. It's my highly prized relaxation time. It's an oasis of unwinding in a relatively stressful week. So when I come with expectations of a lovely, enjoyable and relaxing time, and it doesn't work out, I can't just say, oh well, never mind. I feel the opportunity to unwind and relax sort of being frittered away by my incompetence at the sport. And instead of just going, oh well, never mind, it's only a friendly game, I get worked up about it and get really cheesed off about it.
There has been some research that if you get people to do a bit of exercise and then measure their anger levels, for example by their willingness to administer electric shocks to other people, that in fact taking part in exercise makes you angrier.
But don't tell that to Karen. She's here to relax. Sort of. She's sure that vigorous swimming helps her calm down. If only other people wouldn't get in the way.
The thing that really annoys me is people being in the wrong lane. You know, if you're not up to snuff, don't go in the fast lane because there's people who swim quite fast. And then there are people who get in your way and you just think, oh, The worst ones, I'm afraid, are women who swim with their head out of the water to preserve their makeup, which doesn't happen if I'm around because I'm very good at kicking.
We've all become good at kicking. In the pool, the high street, the office, on the roads. We've never had so many opportunities to enjoy ourselves. And yet everywhere there is rage.
We compare ourselves to each other obsessively and enviously. So we're constantly feeling that even our personalities aren't right, our bodies aren't right, our job isn't right, our girlfriend isn't right. We want something more than what we've got because our aspirations have mushroomed. We're continuously seeking something we haven't got and moving the goalposts if we do get it. So we get there and then we move the goalposts and we want something more. Even if you win the lottery, it's never enough. That's the fundamental problem.
It's the end of a typical day, relaxing with his wife Jenny in their local pub. Karen's also given up the fight for another day. Both of them are wondering if this rage is doing them any good. They're pretty tired of the whole thing. Karen's decided to leave London. She feels her anger has got a lot better recently, but is convinced her and the big city just don't go.
It's smelly, it's dirty, it's crowded, it's expensive. I would like to breathe some oxygen that hasn't been around for people before me. And also, I've reached a point in my life where I suppose I'm ready to go. I'm not 23 anymore. It's time to leave. I've just had enough.
I don't like the losses of control. It's not so, I mean, I talk light-heartedly about it from time to time, but overall, no, I don't want to be losing my temper, making myself look stupid or insulting people for little reason. I don't like that about myself.
I've got irritable bowel syndrome, I've got repetitive strain injury, my ankle is permanently shot, I'm always ill, and I just think it's time to make a change. This is a good time for me to go.
And in our next programme, why letting out your anger is not such a good idea.
Right, so there's steam coming from his ears as well.
And his nose.
And from his nose.
I'm not very fast at doing my maths work, so I got really angry. Chucked my book and that on the floor and chased after him, shoved it into a wall.
We reveal new research from America that shows that anger can be as dangerous for your health as nicotine or alcohol.
People have to change. Otherwise, they're going to be dropping like flies.